All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a Toronto Raptors starting bench prediction for their roster for this upcoming season. If you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button, post Raptors content every single day. I know you guys would like it. Let me know if you like this new video style. Let me know down below in the comments. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I've been seeing first off, a lot of you guys have been commenting your opinions and your predictions on the starting five roster. I love it. Keep it coming. Go ahead, drop it down below because that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Now, Bleacher Report dropped a 30-team predictions on the starters and the rotation and that type of thing. And I went through most of these teams, but the Raptors caught my eye because there's a couple of things I actually like about this lineup, and then there's a lot of things I don't like about it. One thing is to be made. Bleacher Report never has, probably never will be good at Toronto Raptors content. That's just something they aren't good at. I imagine it's probably the same for the Toronto Blue Jays, but I don't really watch baseball, and if I do, it's the White Sox or the Cubs. So, take this with a grain of salt because it's Bleacher Report and, this is their job. So here is their starting five prediction. If you've been watching my videos, my starting five prediction and hope actually is Freddie, Gary Trent, OG, Pascal, Chris Boucher for the time being, and then Khem Birch. Now, after preseason, I'm thinking Precious Achiuwa is probably the better option. I think they'll start Khem Birch at first, but Precious Achiuwa by at least halfway through the season, I guarantee you actually he will be starting. Precious Achiuwa is not just some random bench player. He's a fully capable center who fits exactly what the Toronto Raptors are looking at for positionless basketball, essentially. Here's their starting five prediction. Goran Dragic, Freddie VanVleet, OG, Pascal, and Chris Boucher. Now, right off the bat, I actually don't mind Goran being the point guard because here's the thing. Freddie looked very inconsistent in preseason as far as playmaking and facilitation goes. This way, you're able to give him a little bit more time to figure it out. The only issue I see with starting Goran is what happens when you trade Goran, right? Because Goran is 35, 36 years old, making $18 million a year. The Toronto Raptors probably aren't going to win the championship this season. So if they're not going to win the championship this season, you're going to trade him. And so I'd rather start off, if I'm the Raptors, I'd rather struggle early than struggle late with Freddie trying to figure out his new role and this new playmaking role. I have a lot of concerns for Freddie V, and I know a lot of you guys, in fact, 95 to 99% of you guys who are watching right now disagree with my opinion on Freddie V. I love Fred, and I hope he proves me wrong, but as of right now, I don't think he can be the starting point guard on a championship team. I don't think he has the playmaking abilities to get there. Now, we'll see this year. We'll know the answer this year. So if you have Goran starting, not only are you going to see an increase in playmaking, the offense is going to mesh well. They're going to be scoring more points, and that is a big issue right now for the Toronto Raptors heading into the season is playmaking. It's just how are they going to score? They just lost Kyle Lowry, who was their main facilitator, their main playmaker. Who's stepping up? Is it going to be Fred? We're going to see. So I actually don't mind that backcourt duo of Goran and Fred to start the season. But like I mentioned, does that mean Freddie V is going to struggle once Goran is inevitably traded? A lot of people would disagree with that. A lot of people see that backcourt duo and they're like, you know what, that works because let's try and win as many games as possible. Goran gives you the better opportunity, in my opinion, over Gary Trent Jr. But if you're playing a long-term game, Gary Trent, you just paid him that big salary. I'd probably start him. But that's actually not that bad. I'd love to hear your opinion on Goran and Fred. OG, obviously, and Pascal, those are two obvious ones. And this is kind of how I see that. Like, I don't think this guy watches Raptors games because Chris Boucher at the 5, it's been proven it doesn't work. It's just been proven. It doesn't work. He can't do that. That's not his position. That's not his skill set. Why continue to force it? And so I see Chris Boucher at the 5, and I'm like, I'm reading I'm reading like the explanation, and it still just doesn't make sense to me. To me, if anybody is going to be the 5, it's going to be Pascal Siakam. If anyone's going to be the 5 and it's not named, and they're not named Khem Birch or Precious Achiuwa, I think it's going to be Scotty Barnes being thrown in at that 3-4 position, and then you move Pascal to the 5. I don't think that's what Nick Nurse is going to do. They should be aware that Chris Boucher, in the overall grand scheme of things, yeah, is he a phenomenal shot blocker? Yeah, phenomenal shot blocker. But where does Chris Boucher get majority of his blocks? It's not really in the paint. And so you pair that with just the fact that you have Khem Birch and Precious Achiuwa. I don't know, maybe if the only way I see this happening is if Chris Boucher, without Pascal, gets the starts for the first month or so of the season and is playing so well that he gets the starting role. That's the only way I can see that happening. But last year, I mean, if you watch Raptors games last year, you'll know, like, Chris Boucher is not the ideal center guy. Like, he is just not the ideal. So when we move on to the bench, which is where I have, more issues, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, Malachi Flynn, Precious Achiuwa, and Yuta Watanabe. 4 out of those 5 players are perfect. To me, there's no reason Khem Birch shouldn't be getting consistent playing time. And I've mentioned Yuta Watanabe's name a lot in the last couple of videos because I'm all in on him as well. The guy who wrote this clearly is too. Yuta Watanabe is a very good player for the Raptors. But here's the thing. Pascal's out for a month or so, right? So Chris Boucher is going to be the starting 4. You know who's going to be the bench 4? It's going to be Yuta Watanabe. And unless Yuta is putting up or playing, or the Raptors are producing at like a championship level, I don't see any way or any reason to play Yuta Watanabe ahead of a guy like Khem Birch. The Raptors went out, they got Khem last season, they paid him for a reason, and they didn't pay him that contract to be the 11th man on the roster. And with Khem Birch, I don't think that people are aware of the fact that not only is he pretty young, just considering he got to the NBA a little bit later than most players. So, yeah, he isn't the youngest age, but he is pretty young as far as NBA experience goes. Really got his first opportunity of consistent playing time last season with Orlando. And even then, especially at the start, until we started getting towards the trade deadline and more Orlando Magic players started getting injured, especially at their front court, Khem Birch wasn't really like a name. And so they went out, they paid him a very doable salary. So even if Khem Birch were to be the 11th man on the roster, he's still on a tradable contract. To me, you saw such an increase in his aggressiveness, not only in Orlando, but especially in Toronto, where like he was taking threes in Toronto. That's something you really did not see in Orlando. And so I don't think Yuta Watanabe would get the starting nod over Khem Birch just because that's why they paid Khem Birch. And unless Yuta puts up like, I don't even know, 12 and 6 a night consistently and they're winning, Yuta to me is the perfect 11th man because he can still play most nights and he's the perfect depth. He's not too young. He's not too old. He's just the perfect depth, energy bench player to have. So Yuta Watanabe to me is a perfect 11th man because there's going to be injuries. There's going to be COVID protocols. Like you need to go into this next season just assuming that there's going to be those issues. So having guys like Yuta, having guys like Ishmael Wainwright, like they're going to be critical at certain times next season, because especially if you're trying to win a championship, if you're trying to make the playoffs, these guys are going to need to step up when players go down. So you think of that, and you know, even like I'm reading this article and they have Precious Achua and Kem Birch battling for like the 9th and 10th spots, and can't forget about Svi. Svi's gonna hop in certain games, and the Raptors have, to me, about like 12 to 13 players who I would be totally fine with them playing at any point in the night, like just literally any point in the night. So the Raptors have some decisions to make. Obviously, Svi's here on a guaranteed contract and Yuta's on a guaranteed contract, so you don't have to worry about those guys not making the roster or what have you. But there are a lot of important decisions that head coach Nick Nurse is going to need to decide on. But the good news for Nick Nurse is that you do have a huge injury, or not a huge injury. You have an injury to Pascal Siakam that opens up huge minutes. So you're going to be able to throw Chris Boucher, Yuta Watanabe. You're going to be able to throw out guys like them in higher minute situations early on in the season to see, like, all right, what's it going to be like? So that's it for today. Go ahead, drop your roster predictions, your starting roster predictions down below in the comments. That's it for today. Try and get this video to 100 likes. That would be awesome. If you're still watching to this point, I got all my socials down below. Second channel, Twitter, Discord, all that good stuff. That's it for me today. Peace.